Hello everybody, this is ManuS and welcome back to another Legends of Runeterra spoiler review. The spoiler season is nearing its end. We're finally gonna have the new cards tomorrow afternoon European time. And yeah, it's time to catch up on the spoilers of the last 2 days. I wanted to wait till things have shaken out with all the streamer event and stuff like that. So we'll be talking about the cosmic spoilers in this video, and tomorrow, a couple hours before the set drops, I will be going over the last champion and the remaining cards alongside it that they spoiled last night. So yeah, and then we can finally enjoy the new cards. Also, I will be later in about 2 hours from recording this video, so at 5 p.m. Central European time, so German time, reviewing, discussing all the cards with a bunch of fellow streamers and Runeterra players over at Cosmin's channel. He invited us to this event. You can find further information over on my Twitter if you want to check that out. Twitter link is in the description down below as usual. And yeah, would be cool to see all of you there. And yeah, now before we dive into the latest spoilers, you know the drill. Hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't yet. Only takes a couple seconds and really helps the channel out. And let me briefly tell you about today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by NordVPN, one of the leading virtual private network providers out there. A virtual private network keeps your data secure and yourself anonymous while using the internet. NordVPN comes with super fast servers, allows you to unlock your favorite entertainment websites like Netflix. They provide a 30-day money-back guarantee. They also have an included cybersecurity suite, which acts as an ad blocker to boot. They don't lock any of your data, provide a 24/7 customer support, and you can use it on up to 6 simultaneous connections, so one account covers most or all of your electronic devices. And most importantly, they don't have any bandwidth limit, so you can use it non-stop without it getting throttled, which is particularly important for heavy users like us. It also won multiple awards and comes highly recommended by top technology experts. So if you're still surfing online without a VPN, now is the time to change that. Get NordVPN now, 70% off for a 3-year plan, including 1 month extra for free using the code ManuS or the personalized link in the description down below. And now on to today's content. Alright, so time to talk cosmic spoilers. Which also, fittingly, these graphics were put together by our fellow Runeterra player Cosmic. You can see his Twitch link in the top right corner, so shout out to him, check him out. He's been doing some really nice work on Twitter, compiling stuff and putting them into graphics, so people have everything neat together in one place. Alright, so first off, we have all these celestial priests, sort of, with the new mechanic Invoke. New mechanic Invoke means pick a celestial card from among 3 to create in hand. So you get to look at 3 random celestial cards. The entire pool of celestials, if I'm not misremembering, is 24 cards. Each streamer got 1 celestial card to reveal. And they range from like 0 cost to 10, so they're pretty big. First off, we have Spacey Sketcher. It's a 1-cost 1/1, and you can play it and discard a card to invoke a celestial card that costs 3 or less. So it's basically lets you turn a random card into a cheap celestial card. We'll be looking at these cards and what they can get in a moment on extra slides. Spacey Sketcher seems okay, not that great. Like, it only gets the like lower impact celestial stuff, but it has the upside of being more controllable, so it sort of guarantees you an early game celestial, which is nice. But you still have to like trade a card for it, so you gotta make sure that the card you invest is worth the investment of what you get out of in return on average. But there are a couple of nice things that synergize here. Obviously, gems in particular come to mind, like Gift Giver into Spacey Sketcher on turn 2, for example, is one option. to consider here. Next we have Lunari Priestess, pretty straightforward. It's a 3-cost 2/1, and with Nightfall you invoke. So it's a bit comparable to Shadow Assassin, obviously notably worse because you need to Nightfall to get the second card. It's a 2/1, it doesn't have elusive, but also Shadow Assassin got nerfed a while ago because it was deemed too good in Universal. This certainly isn't too good or Universal, but it's potentially still a very solid card in a Invoke Celestial sort of centric deck, but that those decks aren't like super obvious and build themselves in a way, so we might need a little longer to like figure out what they should look like and if and how many Lunari Priestess you play, and also how well Lunari Priestess ends up playing in the decks. But it's certainly like a very reasonable card. Next off we have Solari Priestess. That card is a bit easier to evaluate. It is the actual Shadow Assassin minus the elusive in a way. It's a 3-cost 1/2. With Daybreak you invoke a Celestial card that costs 4, 5, or 6. So it basically hits like the medium size Celestials, potentially one that you can curve into the next turn, or if not so, one for the next 2 turns. Sometimes you get a spell. There are like a couple of 5 and 6 cost spells, so with spell mana banked you increase your chance of getting something you can play the next turn on turn 4 guaranteed. But we'll also look at the options for Solari Priestess in a moment and talk about her in more detail. Then we have Mountain Scryer. It's the Allegiance card of Targon. It's a 4-cost 2/3 with Allegiance you invoke, which is pretty strong. Like it gives you a card, so it's like a 2/3 for 4 that replaces itself. And your Celestial cards cost 1 less, which is a nice ramp potential and stuff like that. Then we have Moondreamer, which is a 5-cost 3/5 and just invokes when you play it, which is also very solid. Like cards that replace themselves are pretty solid. The stats aren't super impressive, but this is another card that seems like a potentially decent role player in a Celestial invoke heavy deck. Bit surprised that this isn't a Celestial. It looks more like a Celestial creature than a normal being, but I'm not a lore expert here, so maybe I'm getting that wrong. And then we have Behold the Infinite, which is just 2 mana burst spell invoke, which could turn out good enough if you need enough invoke stuff, but it's a bit iffy. It's basically like 2 mana cantrip with a bit of card selection, which isn't exactly bad, but it's also a bit dirtly. But yeah, we'll see how these cards pan out. Like I said, this is a badge that's kind of hard to evaluate without getting to play with them, see how they feel, how they fit together, how the meta, how like sort of hostile the metagame will be to all these dirtly units with these dirtly abilities and the potentially clunky Celestials you get out of. Okay, let's look at Spacey Sketcher. First off, Spacey Sketcher has 8 potential things it can get, so still a lot of variance, basically. You get like cost reduction, so you can basically potentially accelerate stuff. Silencing a follower for 1 is one of the weakest effects I can think of. Giving an ally additional health and spell shields, pretty decent. Stunning 2 enemies with slow speed seems very situational in this type of deck, so not that great. 0 cost 2/1 on turn 1 alongside the Spacey Sketcher is very reminiscent of like the Urchin into Jury Rig Opener from Discard Aggro, although this deck probably won't be as aggressive, so it's going to be less good. Oh, actually, never mind, I just missed that the Serpent actually has Challenge, which is pretty big. So a 0 cost 2/1 Challenger is pretty good, like basically getting a 0 cost tracker is pretty nice. 1 cost 4/1 Overwhelm is a bit underwhelming, actually, pun intended. But I mean, on defense, it still blocks alright. But yeah, we already talked about like the issues with 1 health units in the game right now. Going like Sketcher into Charger just to have them like make it rained or Static Shocked or Vile Feasted or whatever is not that great. Then we have the Messenger. That's a pretty good one, like a 2 cost 2/2 that draws a card. On summon is basically like a notably better Avarosan Sentry, which is a very solid card. And the difference between 1 and 2 health and drawing the card right away is pretty big, so it's a major upgrade to Sentry. And then we have the Trickster, 3 cost 3/3. elusive for whatever reason. Oh yeah, it's like evasion because it's a different language. It's not evasion, it's evasion. It's probably Portuguese or Spanish. And yeah, it's a 3/3 elusive for 3, which is pretty good, but seems like not exactly what the kind of deck would want. It's kind of like a no downside solitary monk after its nerf. I mean, it's a good card, but it might not be as great of a card in what this type of deck wants to do. So yeah, kind of a mixed bag here, but judge for yourself. Then we have Solari Priestess. This looks a lot better. Really good value here. Written in the Stars is basically a turbocharged entreat. It costs effectively 1 mana more, but also lets you transfer 1 mana, so you can basically ramp out a champion earlier, like big champions, especially something like the new Aurelian Soul that was spoiled yesterday that I'll talk about in the next video is a pretty big deal. And yeah, buffing champions, pretty nice. Card is a bit clunky, but might play less clunky than it looks, given the cost reduction and the fact that you can use spell mana to turn it into like real mana by ramping out stuff. Meteor Shower deals 4 to an enemy and 1 to another, so helps you get back on board. Also a card that you can easily play on 4, like you didn't play anything turn 1 and suddenly you can go Priestess into Meteor Shower easily. And then we have Comets, the Comet or Comets or whatever, or Comet Rain or something. We don't know the exact name of the card, this is just like a rough translation. But yeah, it's a 6-cost slow spell that obliterates an enemy, which is pretty nice. Like, it's a slow vengeance, but it gets rid of the unit for good. So no getting it back with Rekindler or getting die triggers and stuff like that. Then we have the Traveler, very good card to curve into the next turn. 4-cost 3/4 that has Invoke, so basically a better version of the 5-drop that we just looked at. The Warrior is amazing, 5-cost 5/5 Challenger, is pretty great. And then we have the Golden Sister, which is a 4/3 lifesteal, and when summoned you also summon a Silver Sister. Let me show you here. Silver Sister is a 6-cost 4/3 elusive. So yeah, that's all that Solari Priestess can get, and that's going to be like a pretty good card. That's going to make it into a lot of sort of slower, more reactive decks as a power play, because all the things you get are pretty high impact, so she's guaranteed to draw you a high impact card. She's a bit of a mix between Sprayfin and Shadow Assassin, except she's kind of like a reverse Sprayfin. She tutors like a limited amount of expensive high impact cards, while Sprayfin tutors a specific range of like cheap cards. But it's more of it's like a bit of a close, it's like a hybrid of between a tutor and card draw effect in a way, since it adds a lot of like options and stuff to a deck that otherwise wouldn't be there. And this is the list of all the cosmic cards. I'm not gonna talk about all of them, there's just too many, and I don't think there is actually a point to talk about them too much, because you're not gonna put them into your deck. You just need to sort of know what they are, because your opponent can get them from Invoke, but it's not like we need to evaluate them for how good they are or not, in a way, because it's usually fairly obvious which one of the 3 should be the best one for you to take, depending on your situation, and it depends more on the situation than on like the vacuum power level of the cards. But yeah, here you can pause, look at all of them if you want to. There are 2 powerful 10-cost cards. One is a super powerful spell, a couple of really big, high impact sort of I win the game finishers, and some really powerful catch up and nuke spells here that you can pull with the no strings Invoke, which is one of the upsides, I guess, of the 2-cost Invoke burst spell, that it has actual Invoke and not like the limited Invoke, while the best Invoke card is the 3-drop, the Solari Priestess, which can only get you like the medium-sized good stuff, like while all the like super high impact stuff here is basically limited to the like pure invoke stuff. Although you can get them backdoor from the Traveler if you get Traveler with Solari Priestess. So you even have access to them sometimes just from putting Solari Priestess in your deck. Alright, that's it for the Priests and Celestial spoiler badge. Remember, I'll be back with the Dragons and Aurelian Soul spoiler review either later today or tomorrow, probably tomorrow, since there will be a day to sort of get through before we get the new cards in the evening, and then yeah, we can finally enjoy them, which means I'll probably be doing my stream fairly late tomorrow, maybe starting a bit before we get the cards to brew some stuff, talk some stuff, and get us hyped up, and then yeah, play with the cards for a bit before I have to go to sleep. All right, so yeah, let me know in the comments down below how you feel about those cards. Runeterra is going cosmic and getting pretty wild, pretty flashy. This is not necessarily like exactly my kind of playstyle or like type of deck, but it's still pretty cool and interesting, and kind of like Invoke is a cool mechanic that adds interesting diversity and decision making on both sides of the board to the game. So we'll see how they play out. The one thing that I'm a bit skeptical of is that a lot of these cosmic celestial cards are balanced in a way like under the assumption that you can't just put them in your deck and have them all the time. So they're pushed, I would argue, looking at a lot of them, to a point where they wouldn't put them in a set the way they are, because they would be too good. But the problem is, every time you get them with Invoke, they are still this pushed card. You just don't see them as often, and you can't plan around them as extremely. But some of them might end up being a bit too pushed, and maybe they'll go back and tweak some of them, because some of them are really powerful. Like, for example, the 8-drop being like a super big elusive finisher potentially seems like a card that could end up causing some problems. But then again, they are also all fairly expensive, so we'll have to see how especially some of the like more powerful, like high-end swingy cards turn out, and if the fact that you can't put them in your deck is enough to allow them to be as pushed as they are, because like I said, I think they would be too good as regular cards. So just the fact that you can only get them with Invoke might not be enough to compensate for the pushiness. That's my main concern with Invoke. Otherwise, I think Invoke's pretty cool. All right, that's gonna be it for today. As usual, guys, if you enjoy what I'm doing, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more. And check the video description for all further information. And I'll see you later in the review stream, or in the next video, or tomorrow on the release stream. That's it again for this time. I'm your host, ManuS, and I thank you for watching. Bye.